Hey everyone, how are you all doing? Welcome to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto absorbs Madara Uchiha, Obito and Shinju's soul, and got Harem movie. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, Sohara Mitsuki. Link is in the description. Also subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Let's start the story. He has achieved victory. A man was standing at the top of a giant tree, a god tree. After taking many lives of his beloved, he finally is able to seal the remains of the god tree soul into himself. Meanwhile, the rest of its chakra turned himself into something that makes him wonder what is this form. After battling Madara, he was ready for the worst, fighting against the person who was once the first Rikudo Sannin Hagoromo Otsutsuki mother, Kagaya Otsutsuki. She was a very tough opponent, however he and Sasuke are able to defeat her. He then decide to seal the remaining power of the Jubi to himself, which his friends did not agree on. He is a young man in his early 20s with a remarkable sun-kissed blonde. He has a blue eyes that calculating what is going on with him. He has 3 scars in each of his face that makes him look feral, if not look like a fox whiskers. He currently touched both of his ears that were pointy, that makes him wonder why he have those ears. His clothes were worse for wear, and his condition was to say at least looked like a beaten person with the bruises and bloody scars everywhere. His clothes were an orange jacket with black outlines, and also orange jonin pants. His jonin vest loosened with a bit tattered here and there. His haori were also ripped with holes. His Hokage haori that inclined nanodame behind it were almost non-existent. His name is Naruto Uzumaki. All of his friends knew that he once lost his precious lover, Higa Hinata, during the first attempt at defeating Madara's forces 3 years earlier at the beginning of the Fourth Shinobi World War. Naruto and his forces swiftly able to overcome those difficulties. However, they thought that the Tsukimi no Mi, Eye of the Moon plan, will be executed right away, so they took the initiative and go straight towards Madara's main forces. Madara and Obito themselves suddenly ambush his forces to try to take the Kyuubi from Naruto. It appears that the Shinobi Alliance plan has failed, and they were forced to retreat. Shikamaru proposed a plan for him to escape. In return, his friends will try to hold Obito and Madara while he is retreating. He obviously won't accept the idea, and will never abandon his friends, and however Shikamaru forced him to obey. The forces with Naruto at that time were the whole rookies, including Sasuke, who suddenly helped Naruto fight against Madara and Obito. Naruto knew if he was caught here, there would be no chance for the Shinobi Alliance to retaliate, so he was forced to leave his friends behind. Hinata surprisingly volunteered to be Naruto's escort during the escape, and Naruto was really happy that he will be escorted by his girlfriend. During the escape, something horrible happened. They were attacked by San named Reikage and Nai named Tsuchikage. Hinata will never stand a chance against 2 former Kages. If he uses his cloak mode he could, however he need his chakra. If his chakra is exhausted, he will be good for grab by the enemies, while the reinforcement will come in 30 minutes, and they were in a pinch. During the fight, Naruto was fighting the former Tsuchikage while Hinata desperately tried to hold off the former Reikage, which was not good. She was struggling to hold off, but unfortunately the Reikage hit Hinata in the left chest right in her heart, and that knocked her out. When the reinforcement came, it was already too late. Hinata's heartbeat was gone, and nothing he or Tsunade could do. He then mourns over his girlfriend for 2 days. However, he keeps thinking, and thinking, what does that do? Does doing nothing will solve this war? He regrets every moment he couldn't do anything, so he resolves on being the strongest. He then learns all the secrets of his father Arsenal, and his mother's heritage, and his family the Uzumaki, learning about the Biju, his ancestor Ashura, history from Rikudo Sannin of what is happening in this world full of chakra or ninshu. He didn't know why he ran back then? Why was he following orders? Why was he so weak? If he just fights there, and finishes Madara and Obito, it would be different. It was not that easy. At that time he didn't have any kind of enlightenment from the Rikudo Sannin himself. He was only able to accomplish everything now where the whole world might be in peace. Peace? Will there be true peace in a world with such power? He smiled. Maybe true peace is just something out of reach? He was tired, at a loss as to what he would be next. He was already a Hokage. But was that really his only purpose? He was wondering what would happen next. He looked downwards at the devastating ground that seemed to have been taken by catastrophe, or even worse. He took deep breaths. He needed some relaxation after this. However, he felt a strong summoning jutsu from his back, and looked up from his shoulder that there is a green circle full of strange power. It is not chakra, but it is a great power from the looks of it. He turned back, and thought for a while. If this is a summoning jutsu, then someone needs my help. He looked around him, as single tears fell. It seems this will be the last time I'll be here. I'm going to miss this place. He then walked towards the green circle, and right there, and then the circle vanished alongside Naruto. The remaining shinobi looked upwards towards the top of the god tree, and were surprised that their hero was vanished. From then on, many people still mourn Naruto for almost a year, and he was labeled as a hero who they worship, as the Nidaime Rakudo Senin. Inside the void, he feels deep in the darkness, nowhere to go. Only his will to live keeps him from being insane. He decides to follow the green circle to the new world. But will he be able to find true happiness and peace there? His eyes opened only to be stared at by a beautiful woman with white wings and very beautiful faces. She has rounded faces, with kind, gentle gold eyes, and white straight hair. She wears a white majestic robe befitting royalty. The most peculiar thing he saw was a halo right above her head. He finally speaks. "Who are you?" The glowingly beautiful woman smiles warmly at him. "Me? I'm a goddess, or you may call me Kami-sama," he weakly asked. "Kami-sama?" She nodded. "Yes, Naruto-kun, I'm Kami-sama," he sighed. "So Kami-sama has come personally to meet him, and take my souls to hell, huh?" She tilted her head. "Why the hell?" "Because of the fact that I was able to kill Madara was to do cheap tricks, killing his subordinate, and finally almost destroying humanity in the process," he explained. She smiled widely, then laughed. "Naruto-kun, as I thought you are so interesting, you are really kind that you think killing the evil side is bad. Naruto-kun, even if I were to take you, it will not be to hell, but heaven, and since you already taken the Jubi soul, now you are practically a god-like, some sorts of things like that. But no, I didn't call you to the green circle. I wanted for you to help this little girl with almost the same destiny as you. I hope you are willing to help her, Naruto-kun, as this is your chance to redeem and protect those who are precious to you in this new world, and you will have to find out what world are you falling into by yourself." Her smile still in her face, then her hands reach out to his cheeks, and stroking it gently. He just smiled while her cheeks had a tint of red. "Then, if you are a Kami-sama, can you tell me what is happening to elemental nations?" Her eyes grew soft, and said, "Elemental nations are fine, Naruto-kun. They are developing into technological nations, and decide to become one nation under one rule. However, you know how humans can be, they are greedy and insatiable. We never know when the war will break out again." She won't say to him that there will be no conflict at all in the elemental nations. However, for the greater good, she will not tell him the fully detailed explanation of the elemental nations right now. He smiled. "Kami-sama, for everything you gave me, I will protect her in this new world with all my power, and Kami-sama, I have one more request." She then holds both his hands. "What is it?" "Please protect everyone who is precious to me there, my friends." He looked at her with pleading eyes. "I will do, Naruto-kun." Then he disappears into the void, to his new master. However, he can hear Kami-sama's last words. "I will help your friend Naruto-kun, but not directly as you think. Hawkagenia, Tri-Stain Magic Academy." Young girl at the age of 17 was waiting for her turn to summon her familiar, as today was the summoning day. She is really nervous, as her friends called her the Zero. She thought that she would never summon her familiar a long life accompany. Her name is Louise Françoise Leblanc de la Valliere. Last night before she was awake, she saw a mysterious figure, and a blonde-haired elf. He was really kind to her, and he promised to her that he will protect her. He was really handsome, but she couldn't see his face clearly, and then her dream ended when she tried to kiss him in that dream, but then falling from her bed. Today is the summoning ritual for her, and she was teased by her rival again into making a bet with her German rival Kirche Augusta Frederica von Anhalt-Zerbst, that she would summon a great familiar, not some sort of poor summon. She really regretted those words right now, as now she is really nervous, but her pride, as a noble, was strong, masking her nervousness. After it's almost her turn, she tried to lay down by hiding at the taller student to hide her. Unfortunately, luck was not on her side. Is there someone who hasn't performed the summoning? Jean Colbert Professor is the one who oversees the student performing the ritual. He is one of the square class fire mages, and considered a man who filled himself with curiosity. Oh, there is one Louise who hasn't done the ritual, Professor. With a mischievous smile looked at Louise, who was now glared at Kirche, and annoyed her to no end. Colbert, who nodded, stares at Louise. Very well, Miss Valliere, please perform the ritual. He pointed his staff at the magic circle for summoning. Louise gulped that it was her turn, and walked towards the circle, and took a deep breath while she raised her wand to the air. My name is Louise Françoise Leblanc de la Valliere, Pentagon of the 5 elemental powers. My servant that exists somewhere in this universe. My divine, beautiful, and powerful familiar. I wish, and assert from the bottom of my heart, answer my guidance. Suddenly an explosion of smoke erupted, covering everyone's sight. She is getting more nervous if her spell fails, and it is proven wrong, as there is someone who is standing at the circle. The man was wearing a strange green vest with many pockets in it. Underneath he wore orange jacket with black lines, and orange pants. Covering all of this was some sort of overcoat with no zip revealing most of his underneath clothes. He had a round-shaped face with a 3-scar line that looks like a whiskers. He had a pair of blue sky eyes that filled with almost nothingness. His hair were a spiky sun-kissed blonde with a 2-horn-like hair in front standing proudly. Louise blushed at the sight of this tall man. And he is about 6.0 foot with a godlike body, making her think, who is this person she summoned that she thought he just summoned God on Earth. Despite all of this, there is a sight that caused her eyes to widen. He had long pointy ears. She seems to recognize him. She was seeing him in her dream last night. However, her eyes widened. She just summoned the most dangerous creature, the enemy of human who exists at the Forbidden Land, an elf. Shocked, that is something that filled the vestry court. None of the students believed what just happened. Louise Valier just summoned a creature with human bodies and long pointed ears, an elf. He just stood there emotionless. No words, no movement, and his eyes looked like his world just came to an end. Empty and sadness, Louise stood there, her mouth gaping like a fish would. She just couldn't believe what she just summoned. Elf who stands in front of them is tall, towering over all of them. He stood at 6'2" tall. He had a round face, and 3 faint whiskers mark on each cheek, a strange mark for an elf. His bang covered each of his side faces, and his hair was wild spiky blonde. His eyes were blue, an endless ocean color. His body is well toned without overly bulking, with a 6-pack abs, something all girls blushed at since his clothes tattered. He wore a headband at his arm with a strange letter inscribed on the metal. He wore an orange-black shirt and orange pants. He also wore a strange dark green vest with many pockets. In his upper left thigh there is a strange holster attached. It was strange since there is no pistol in it. His coat, which was thin white and blood painted, reached until his lower leg. Behind inscribed the same strange letter, which is the same as the headband, but at the same time different meaning. He seems to observe, as where he is now. After a good minute of silence, he sees Louise still gaping, and moves towards her. He asks her in a strange language. Naruto's mind is racing right now. Where is he? Is this a new world? Interesting, the scenery, and the air is really fresh with nature magic. He could change into sage mode in a second. This environment makes him alive again. While it is good being summoned here for a reason, he needs to find information, and it seems his summoner might know. Where am I? Are you the one who summoned me? Hello, anybody home? The elf asked in a very strange language while waving his hand in front of Louise, making every person there look confused. She pointed at the elf, and started asking. Are you familiar? She asked while still doesn't grasp what he just asked. He tilted his head, and made a confused expression. The girls wanted to gimp him for his cuteness, but were still scared nonetheless. The elf closed his eyes, and reached for Louise's head. But before he could reach her, the professor or their teacher held his hand before reaching Louise with his staff. Even though sweat is rolling down his head, he is still eager to protect his student. Naruto decides he will take the man's knowledge. He grabs the staff, and pulls it strong enough to pull the man towards him. The teacher tried to avoid him, but Naruto is faster than human speed. He grabs his head, and starts to absorb the knowledge this world has, without killing him. His eyes snapped open, and narrowed his eyes. He quickly put down the teacher, and pondered. This world screwed. Noble and commoner system, a system where the nobles, as a high rank, are considered as people who can use magic, and this world leaves the commoner as a lowlife, and many noble consider them as nothing more than a slave. Naruto shook his head lightly. He looks over the scared student, and sighs. The other races of this world are called elves from the other sides of this country. Currently there are 5 superior countries. Tristain, the country where I am summoned, Germania to the east of this country, Albion to the west of this country currently fighting a civil war, Gallia to the south of this country. No more information. Strange. The last is Ramalia, or the church where the true religion of this world, and the founder of Brimir. Whoever this man was, he was a total jerk. Naruto sighs once again, and looks over to the pink little girl who is still gaping. This world's last race who doesn't believe in Brimir is the elves. They lived far to the east. Their country is a forbidden land if what this man's knowledge is true. Formerly the founder of void magic labels the forbidden land of elves. In this world history it is said that Brimir tried to take the land of the elves, but failed. Naruto walked towards her, and looked at her pink eyes. He finally spoke for the first time since he came to this world. Are you the one who summoned me? Asked Naruto with a deep masculine tone which made the girl's heart melt. Unable to utter words, she just nodded. Naruto is surprised by her chakra reserves, and a strange void energy coming from her. He is really sure the void energy is really rare, and coming strong from her is the fact. She can summon him, she has potential. The professor, who finally regained his senses, looks at Louise with pride. She might not be able to use magic properly, but she can summon powerful being. He approached both of them, as he cleared his throat. Miss Valier, it seems you have successfully summoned your familiar. Now finish the contract. The professor simply stated. Louise, who just nodded, chanted the spell. Meanwhile Naruto frowned. Familiar? Contract, what does that mean? He recalled professor memories. Familiar is a being who is summoned by a certain noble to be a long-life partner. If he is treated like a dog he would be fine. My name is Louise Françoise Leblanc de la Valliere. Pentagon that rules the 5 powers, blesses this individual, and makes him my familiar. She moves closer to him, while she starts to lean up to reach his lips. Louise's room evening. After summoning Naruto, and Louise went towards her room with Naruto carrying her bridal style, she couldn't utter a word. Reaching the room, Louise quickly changed while Naruto waited outside. After she changed he went inside, and found Louise in her pajamas. Both of them sit in an awkward silence. After a moment Louise starts to break the silence. So, what is your name? Louise asked. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. What about you? He asked even though he already had her name, it doesn't hurt to ask. She straightens up her chest with a little huff. My name is Louise Françoise Leblanc de la Valliere, 3rd daughter of the Valliere family. I see well that is great name Louise, he stated gently. Louise blushed at his masculine voice, and just nodded. By the way, where must I sleep? Naruto asked in curiosity. The only thing in her room was a pile of hay, and it sure was for animals. Ah, don't worry, you can sleep with me, since I thought I would have an animal familiar so I only brought this hay. Sorry. Louise started to lay in her bed giving space for him to sleep. Don't worry about it Louise, it's fine. He finally gave in, and lay beside her. Louise just remembered about something. He could speak the same language. While it seems the first time she summoned him, he was still clueless. He also uses a strange magic. Is it natural magic? Louise decides to ask him. And about the first time I summoned you, why are you speaking gibberish? And what have you done to Mr. Colbert? Louise turned to face him. Naruto has a sheepish expression. That is just one of my abilities anyway, you better get to sleep. I'll protect you from any harm, little Louise. He smiled mischievously. Louise blushed, and turned around avoiding his smile. Baka! That is what your job is. He chuckles, and gets to sleep even if he sleeps temporarily. Osmond office. In the office dozens of teachers discussing the elf Louise just summoned. Colbert also almost loses consciousness. Somehow he managed to finish the annual familiar summoning this year, and for the most part the elf himself was just getting out of the war zone, something they took cautiously. They are still debating whether or not to tell the kingdom about the elf because if they did, the kingdom will try to kill the elf. Elf is really dangerous, even if there is only one. One could take thousands of nobles. Old Osmond, the principal of Tri-Stain Magic Academy, was confused by the sudden occurrence. He really doesn't know elf that much. But from what I just said, he seemed to be nice. Right now a rather loud argument comes from each teacher. We should just give him towards the palace. This will give us good deeds, and the founder Brimir will bless us. One teacher stated. Colbert retorted. We can't. As you can see he is already a familiar to Miss Louise. We cannot just give him towards the palace. You should ask Miss Valliere first, and I don't think the elves won't give up without a fight. Osmond cleared his throat and made everyone in the room look at him. I suppose Mr. Colbert is right. Even if we give the elf towards the palace nothing good will come, and he is already a familiar of Miss Louise, meaning she has full control of her familiar. One teacher stood. But old Osmond, we can't risk it. How will he react to it? He might just kill her. You know how elves hate our races for many years. The teachers start to agree, however before Osmond slams the table. It is rare to see Osmond angry. We can't judge a person by its cover. We shall see if he behaves strangely and hostile we will give him towards the palace, but if he does nothing, and be a good person, he will not go to the palace, you understand me? Old Osmond gave them a stern glare, and all of them nodded. Good, now everyone dismisses except for Mr. Colbert, and Miss Longueville, Osmond stated, and every teacher inside the room started to leave the room except Colbert, and Longueville, secretary of Osmond. Both of you, I need something for you two to do, folding his hand, and giving his best serious expression. Both of them nodded. Miss Longueville, I want you to overlook the elf, if he is a potential threat, and Mr. Colbert, I want you to solve the mystery about that sign. Both nodded. Has a mind of her own. What kind of sign? Alright, both of you dismissed. Both of them leave the office, leaving Osmond with his familiar mouse Matsogner. I am too old for this, but it is nice to see new people once in a while. He puffed his smoke. Shortly after Louise just slept, he woke up to look after her clothes, which he noticed when he entered the room. She is a spoiled girl who takes too much pride in herself. He however notices earlier when everyone calls her Louise the Zero until he comes, and emits his Ki. He walked out of the bed, and took off the pile of clothes. He needs to explore the place, and find out what kind of world this is. He put on the seal to his clothes, which consist of his jounin flak jacket. Underneath there is his black-orange suit alongside umbu pants. Quickly his seal gets to work, as his clothes return back to its original state, and fix it. His former tattered clothes fixed up in a matter of minutes. He went out with his master clothes, though he prefers comrades. He never respects someone except they deserve it, and Naruto saw a lot of sadness in her. While Naruto is walking through the corridor, he gazes at a rich blonde brat with his rose at his left hand, meanwhile in his right stay at a brunette girl's shoulder. Judging by her appearance and outfit, she is a first-class student, and her face is quite cute. Though the blonde was obviously a womanizer, he just shook his head. He just ignored the blonde, and walked past them. However, as they just passed each other, the blonde looked at him, and stopped him. "Hey, you there! Are you the one who Louise summoned?" the blonde asked arrogantly. Naruto just looked impassive while holding the basket. He stares at the blonde, and smiles even though it was faked. He knew the blonde in front of him is the one who always mocked Louise. "Why, yes I am. Is there any problem?" Naruto asked back. "Of course it is. Until now I still didn't believe a failure such as Louise could summon an elf such as you." The blonde narrowed his eyes. "I see jealousy," Naruto calmly stated. The blonde snorted. "Humph, there's no way I could be jealous of her. Because I am Greiche de Greymont, and people call me the Bronze Greiche. It might just be a coincidence she might call an elf from out of nowhere," the blonde who just called himself Greiche stated. "Very well then, if you say so, I shall bid you farewell. I still need to do more things." Naruto turned back, as he continued his walk. "Just so you know, elf, you are not welcomed here. You might be familiar with Louise the Zero, however no one will acknowledge such a vile creature among us humans. Let's go, my beautiful Katie." He gestures towards the brunette in his hand. Naruto took a deep breath, and kept walking. He still couldn't believe there is such a world, as trash, as this. After he walked outside, he found out it was already night, and surprisingly there are 2 moons. He just chuckled dryly. 2 moons, 2 different entities. He kept walking till he found a fountain. However, before he could start washing, he stopped by someone. A smooth, kind tone. "Ah no, kind sir, what are you doing in the middle of the night?" the sound asked him in a kind tone. He turned back, and saw who it was. He saw a maid who looks about 18. Her hair is deep onyx, and her eyes are faint light blue. She held both of her arms in front of her to make her look polite. Naruto smiled. He stood up, and looked at her. "I am just trying to wash up my master's clothes. If you don't mind, can I ask if you could wash it up for me?" He looked at her again. Her face was a mix of kindness and fear. However, she nodded. "Of course, kind sir. I am the one who always does the job." She took the basket from Naruto, and started to wash the clothes. Naruto smiled, which made her blush. "Thank you. You're welcome, kind sir." While the girl washed Louise's clothes, Naruto leaned on the wall near the fountain. While the maid was washing, she knew the silences between them were uncomfortable. Naruto decides to break the silence between them. "You didn't hate me, did you?" Naruto asked. The maid became flabbergasted. "No, kind sir, what makes you think of that?" Naruto looked up at the sky. "Because when you look at me at first, it is just as if you saw something horrible." "Do you hate me for what I am?" Naruto asked with his gaze still at the beautiful 2 moons. "In my childhood my parents often told me a fairy tale. They told me how horrible the elves. They hate humans, and it is the same, as we hate them. However, I didn't think like that. There must be some kind of reason they hate us," the maid reasoned. Naruto becomes silent. Deep inside he's astonished. If there are more people who could think like her. "I see. That is why when I first look at you, sir, I'm scared. However, when I see that smile of yours, I know that you are a kind person, not like what people describe." The maid flustered at what she just said, and looked away. "That is reasonable. I think I forgot to say my name is. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. It is nice to meet you." Naruto introduced himself, while still leaning against the wall. "Me too, my name is Siesta. It is nice to meet you, Naruto-san." She looked at him with a faint blush. Naruto just nodded, and the maid called Siesta continued her washing. The silence continued until Siesta finished her washing. Even though the whole situation is silence, its silence is one of comfort, and Naruto is glad to meet someone who isn't a prick. After Siesta finished washing, Naruto thanked her. "Once again, thank you, Siesta." He gave her a charmed smile which unconsciously makes Siesta blush. "Yes, no problem, Naruto-san." Siesta tried to look away from his face, and tried to look anywhere to hide her blushing face, but failed miserably. "I'll see you tomorrow." He turns around, and walks away back to Louise's room, leaving the blushing maid pondering to herself with suggestive images. Morning, Louise's room. Louise sleeps very deeply till Naruto wakes her. She mumbled that Munya sounded like a cat. It made Naruto chuckle at the sight of a prideful girl who acts like that. "Till tomorrow, of course." Naruto starts to shake her more. "Louise, wake up, you need to go to class, remember?" Munia 5 more minutes, that was his answer. Naruto smirks, and gives her a playful slap on her ass which makes her scream, and awake. Ouch. Who did that? She gave out her angry glare, however, after she saw that she flustered. It is me who did that, Louise. Now get up, you have a class to attend. Naruto started like a wise sage. Louise tried to rub her eyes, and actually didn't believe her eyes. Oh yeah, yesterday she just summoned an elf. It is not a dream. Naruto nodded. Of course not, now go get changed. I'll wait outside. He starts to walk out of the room, leaving Louise with her mind still restarting. After Louise finished wearing her uniform, they met Kirchi and Tabitha. Tabitha seemed an okay person, and a quiet type. Meanwhile, Kirchi is hot, and seems to annoy Louise. However, Louise seems already aware of her rival. What are you doing here, Kirchi? She asked harshly. Oh, nothing of course, but it seemed you did a good job at summoning an elf, and a sexy one that became your familiar. Her rather huge boobs jiggled, and started to lean towards Naruto. She starts to put her index finger at his firm chest, and starts to twirl it. Naelf-kun, if you stop being her familiar, and become mine, I'll gladly become yours. Kirchi's eyes start to glitter at the sight of the sexy blonde. Louise, of course, starts to fume in anger. Get your hands off my familiar! Naruto, however, starts to wave Kirchi hands off. I'm sorry, I can't. I only serve Louise, and become her partner. This, of course, set a different reaction. Louise becomes flustered, and Kirchi becomes more determined to get him, and Tabitha being Tabitha. Louise drags Naruto, and starts walking faster. Where are we going, Louise? Naruto asked while still being dragged. Towards Alva's hall, we're gonna have breakfast there. Louise answered, and Naruto just nodded, and a few breakfasts couldn't have been bad. Alva's hall. Here at the hall, many students already sit on their respective seats, and begin their breakfast. Naruto pulls out a chair for Louise to sit on, and Louise of course accepts it. Naruto could feel several glares from students, however instead of directing towards him, it is towards Louise. Louise for her part just ignores them. It was just usual, except with her familiar being an elf, and all. She knew she just accomplished something after she summoned Naruto, and for some reason her heartbeat couldn't stop when she was near him. Naruto could also hear some chat, mostly from girls. Is Louise really summoning an elf? It seems like it. I would never imagine how Louise summons the elf, and he is a handsome one at that. Yeah, he is really my ideal man. I wonder if he already has someone. Louise twitched at the last part, but ignored it. She never gets annoyed this fast, but still she knows her family are devilishly handsome. While many of the girls started to think of the hot hunk, the person on higher status thought the elf would be executed, and killed for taking the lands of their founder Brimir. Naruto could read all of their faces like a book, and it annoyed him. He might not show it outside, but inside he felt like punching this entire brat into a mess. He calms himself, and whispers towards Louise. Louise, I will get outside with the other familiar, is that okay with you? Naruto asked gently. Louise was scared, but her friends didn't like being here. Is she being a bad master? Why? Is it because of the food served here, or did I do something wrong? Naruto smiled. Despite her being a prideful girl, she is still an innocent girl, but she covers it with her prideful attitude. Don't worry, I will eat at the staff room where the kitchen is. I am not going anywhere, Louise. Okay? Naruto reassured her, and she nodded. Very well. Louise just lumped in her seat, but one look carefully, she actually breathed a sigh of relief. Just as Naruto went outside, Louise is approached by Kirchi, her sworn enemies. She seems infatuated by her familiar, who could be shown as her passion or love, which is why Louise hates her. One thing she detests more is that Kirchi is better than her. Better appearance, famous, but her other big sister didn't. Maybe it was her genes which were the same as Eleanor? She just shook her head, and Kirchi just looked at her amusingly. Era, Louise, where is your handsome familiar? Is he getting sick sticking around you? Kirchi asked slyly. Louise just rolled her eyes. No, Kirchi, he just went outside to find some food near the kitchen since this place doesn't serve food for him. She tried not to call him familiar. It's just wrong. Nonsense, if it were me I would give him such a wonderful feast rather than take your own pride inside the table. Humph, just keep blabbering, and I don't really listen anyway. Louise looks away, avoiding Kirchi's victorious smile. Fufufu, well, see you around. Louise the Zero, let's go. Tabitha walked away, as her blue-haired petite friend followed her. Outside of Alva's hall, Naruto went outside to find food where the staff were staying, and that is where the food was made from. He spots Siesta while she holds a trolley of food back towards the kitchen. He decides to greet her. Siesta. Naruto waved at her, which she noticed. Naruto-san. She approaches him with a big smile on her face. How are you today, Siesta? I hope you have a good sleep. Naruto put his hand in his pocket pants. Ah, yes, of course, Naruto-san. By the way, aren't you supposed to be with Louise-san? Naruto nodded. Yes, however it seems they serve noble only there, so I decided to find the kitchen. If you don't mind, where is it? Siesta gasped. Of course the academy won't serve food to him, especially of who he is. You could follow me to the kitchen after breakfast at Alvis Hall is finished, she offered. Naruto smiled. Of course, that would be delightful. I'll help you bring these. Siesta seems to protest. Don't worry, Naruto-san, I can do it myself. Don't worry about it. Naruto just waved it off. Also, I don't like formalities, just call me Naruto. Siesta seems attracted to his kind personality, and blushed slightly. Yes, Naruto. After giving all of the breakfast towards the student noble, Naruto, and Siesta went towards the kitchen where Naruto ate hungrily, the staff, and the head chef Marto only looking from afar. He didn't really trust this elf which befriends Siesta, but if Siesta that happy then he will let it go for now. After Louise finished eating her breakfast, she went outside to enjoy her tea, although she really wanted to be with her family. Right now she just enjoyed sitting and relaxing. However, since her familiar is very unique, or some term should say, many start their conversation on Louise's familiar, like they don't really believe she summoned an elf. However, those rumors, glare, especially girls, stopped, and the girls started to stare at the handsome blonde elf with half-lidded eyes, and gaze full of lust. Louise didn't like it at all, even when the girls her age or her senior or junior staring at her familiar like they own him. She is the only one who only should see. She shook her head off at the thoughts while Naruto basically sat on the other side of the table. He seems to radiate that cool and gentle smile even she could not resist. So Louise, how's your breakfast? Naruto asked with her smile. Louise looked away to hide her blush, but failed. My morning just got ruined by a certain someone. Naruto gave her a hurt expression even though it was false. He could do it well because he is a shinobi. Oh Louise, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to leave you. I am truly sorry. Louise waved her hands erratically. No. It wasn't you. It's just Kirchi who disturbs me, that's all. Naruto inwardly laughs, her expression is so cute. Well, if that's the case then it's fine anyway. Aren't you supposed to be at class right now? Louise regained her composure. Oh, don't worry about it. For the next 2 hours there is no class, so let's enjoy ourselves for a while. Of course, Louise. Naruto gives her a smile. In the distance one could see Siesta frowning in jealousy at Naruto, and Louise's closeness. Siesta knows Louise isn't that attractive, but why is Naruto being so gentle towards him? She is going to need a plan to seduce Naruto with her body the next time they meet. After 2 hours of waiting outside enjoying peace, Naruto and Louise went to the class. Even though it's forbidden bringing familiar, it's truly up towards its master, and since Naruto is an elf not another strange familiar, Louise would let him in. He also promised not to do something flashy, and all. In the middle of the way, they meet Kirchi and Tabitha. Again. Louise, so you decide to bring him to the class after all, but you should know it's forbidden, right? You are going to be punished if you do that, Kirchi stated while looking at Naruto every now and then. Tabitha is just interested in her book, but one could see she is interested at Naruto for being an elf. Don't worry about it, I already have permission, and everyone seemed don't mind about him, so get out of our way. Louise snarled, gives her a mock hurt. Oh Louise, it's hurt, and why did everyone not mind? It's because of me, of course, she stated proudly. Louise narrowed her eyes. And why is that? It's because your familiar is the handsome elf hunk, and every female has talked about it. One day he will be surrounded by girls, and you won't be given a single meat. Kirchi crossed her arms to make her bust bigger. Naruto however begins to pale at the mention surrounded by girls. It's the same as fangirls. There is no way it could happen. Louise crossed her arms, as she glared at Kirchi. Oh, it will, and when it does I will have that large rod meat for myself, Kirchi stated without shame. Louise's face went red, and Tabitha who listened became embarrassed by her friends, and Naruto just shook his head. Whatever, let's go to Naruto. Louise pulled Naruto towards the class, and her seat. Gives Naruto a seductive look. You will be mine. Class. In the class teacher, which she called herself Mrs. Chevreuse, is lecturing about earth magic, and everyday magic, and Naruto noticed Louise's nervousness. When the teacher gave the lecturing, mages divided by level the same as shinobi. The lowest are dot mage, then the next level is lion mage, the most common, and many noble would probably reach is triangle mage, and the last, and the rarest is square mage. If Naruto ranks it correctly, a square level mage could control 4 magic elements. Naruto starts to wonder what Louise's element is. He knows Louise has a high amount of reserve energy, or mana is what they called here. Naruto suspects that only Louise has a lot of mana, while her friend does not. They only manipulate mana from their surroundings with their wands to work that magic. That one is also strange because she is special. The rumor is that Louise cannot do a single spell, and is considered the dead last. Naruto chuckled, what a strange coincidence. Mrs. Chevreuse herself is an Earth Triangle mage which could manipulate 3 elements even with its basic spell. She started to explain the lost magic, void magic. Although if he has to guess, Louise is a void mage since she couldn't cast any spell correctly, and always ended up in explosion. He felt glare at almost every boy in the class, and of course Guiche gave him a death glare which he ignored. All of them were looking at him only when the teacher didn't pay attention. Mrs. Chevreuse asked any of the students to give an example of how to manipulate earth elements after she did it first. Almost everyone in the class went silent, and she had to pick randomly. Very well then, since no one wants to get in front of the class, I will choose randomly, Mrs. Chevreuse said. While many get nervous, it gets directed towards Louise. Miss Valier, can you come in front of the class and show how to do it? Louise seems to gasp, and glanced towards Naruto, who just nodded. Everyone however shook their heads, and Guiche finally stepped in. Mrs. Chevreuse, you can't let her do that, it will become a disaster. Then why don't you come in front of the class? That shut him up even though he tried to protest. Please continue, Miss Valier. Louise became more nervous, however she took her breath. She took off her wand, and aimed it towards the brass which Mrs. Chevreuse just did. Naruto knows something is wrong. Her chakra becomes unstable, and her power becomes uncontrolled. Naruto knew it could cause an explosion. Naruto closed his eyes for a second, and opened it, revealing the eyes of the Jubi. Everyone in the class which already took cover was shocked at the lack of explosion Louise will cause, because all of them are even more shocked when Louise can cast a spell by turning the brass into gold. Oh, Miss Valier, this is wonderful, you successfully turn a brass into a gold. Only Square Mage could even do that, Mrs. Chevreuse proudly stated. Louise however was gaping like a fish, she just couldn't believe it. She just cast a spell, and it worked, not some explosion. She glanced at Naruto, which he nodded. Oh my god, Louise the Zero just cast a spell, and not some explosion, shouted one of the students named Malicorn. Naruto's sweat drops at the class reaction. So that's why she is called Zero. Night Louise's room. Louise couldn't believe it, she just cast a spell. She was so happy that she let out a deep breath, while she was confused as to why Naruto kept her in the middle of the night. Is he going to? She blushed and shook her head. There is no way that could be true. The door of her room opened, and revealed Naruto holding a book and a sign. Is Naruto doing something wrong? Louise asked. Naruto nodded. Yes, Louise, do you know why you can turn brass into gold? Louise just shook her head. Well, it was me. Louise looked shocked. I suppress your humongous power, and return it with my special power. Your power and high reserves or mana resulted in your explosion, Naruto explained. Louise looked even more in shock. That's mean it's just you, and not purely me? Yes, my special power helps you turn the brass into gold. Louise however becomes helpless, and starts to cry. Her dream is just a dream. She will never be able to do anything, she is just Louise the Zero. Naruto moves close to her, and hugs her, and gives soothing words. Don't worry, with all the training you can do that again. This seems to encourage Louise, as she looks him in the eyes. Are you telling the truth? He nodded. Yes, I will teach you, and I will make sure you will become a great mage. Baka! You scared me. I thought I couldn't do that again, Baka. Baka! Louise begins to cry, although now it is happiness. Naruto just smiled, and hugged her tighter. Louise seems to fall asleep after a few minutes, feeling his warmth. He set her down to bed, and he started to read the book. It is the book about Void. This new world he landed or specifically summoned to is magnificent. In this world, mages are the people who are born from nobility who can use magic. Magic, as in turns taught by Brimir, the founder of magic. Magic divided by 5 elements. It is water, wind, fire, earth, and last is the holy void magic. It is said that void magic is the elements of the founder Brimir himself. It is considered a lost elements among the 5, as no one has inherited the void magic, or be said, as the successor of founder Brimir. However, even if the lost elements can't inherit, but it can be learnt or taught by someone who is in the same state as Brimir himself. Many mages are abandoning or researching the true knowledge of void magic, considering the lost art elements itself is lost. Brimir once had familiars. Yes, he had 4 familiars, and the only one who managed to befriend them. Brimir familiars is unique. Unlike other mages, who summon creatures or animals such as dragons, salamanders, frog, mole, and many more, Brimir actually summons human-like familiars. These 4 familiars are strong, and granted by the founder Brimir himself powers. Gandalf, or left hand of the god, granted by Brimir magic of knowledge to understand any weapon, even how to use it. Windalf, or right hand of the god, granted by Brimir power to understand and tame any animals or creatures. Or mind of the god, granted by Brimir the knowledge to understand any magic and ancient articles or knowledge. Last is Liftrasir, heart of the god, granted by Brimir the power to increase magic power of the Brimir himself. However, it is the most riskiest power to use, as it will shorten the life of the familiar himself/herself. One of Brimir's, and first familiar Gandalf, is the closest one towards Brimir himself. Her name is Sasha. She is natively an elf, and she is a peerless beauty. She was considered a prodigy of weapons and magic in her land, the land of elves. Brimir summoned her as his familiar, and Sasha accepted with her heart content. Even all of elves approve of Brimir's action because long ago humans and elves are not enemies. After Sasha became Brimir's familiar, she and Brimir gradually and slowly fell in love. One night Brimir confesses his feelings for and asks her to marry him. Sasha, who can't express her words due to overflowing emotions, just nodded her head, and so both of them married, and they both lived happily. However, that happiness cut short. Brimir, once a great mage and a kind person, turned into an arrogant person after he managed to summon his fourth familiar. He gave his familiar's power through his void magic. Slowly Brimir began to read ancient articles of the land of elves, as it was rumored, as a sacred land. He then created the group of mages, and named them nobles. These nobles are strong, and well versed in the other four magic elements. Soon they will be the first square mage. After gathering all the mages, they created a system between nobles and commoners in the humans community. This created an uproar from both mages and commoners at Brimir's idea. Mages said it is controversial towards the system of live together as one status they created long before nobles and commoners' system even existed, and rich commoners also stated the same way at opposing Brimir's idea. This idea was accepted after Brimir stated, nobles will fight to protect the commoners from harm, while commoners are to help nobles in every way possible. The words affect both nobles and commoners alike, and start to accept the idea. Not long after that, Hokagenia, as one country of humanity, was born, led by Brimir himself. After Brimir gains enough resources and military power, nobles and commoners alike, he is planning to wage war against elves for the sacred land. Brimir became arrogant and thought of himself as a god. Sasha, however, did not accept it and stated her statements. Brimir, who was once a kind person, is changed in Sasha's eyes once Sasha failed to persuade Brimir to wage war against elves, her people, and her land. Now Sasha only sees him as a petty, greedy, and arrogant man. She realizes this is no longer her beloved husband. Sasha, who loved Brimir, cannot bear to abandon him. However, she knew the elves would be in threat once Brimir wages war. So Sasha did one thing will make her heart crushed, is to kill him. She knew she couldn't change Brimir's actions. One night, while both of him and her sleeping, and the day before the war, she mutters her last sorry, and stabbed Brimir in the heart. She runs away with all of her belongings, and returns to the land of elves. Days later, an uproar happened after Brimir was dead. 3 of his other familiars unbind, and set free. Humans and elves are faulting each other for what happened. However, humans are debating against each other because of greediness, and Brimir's power knowledge then divides Hokagenia into 5 parts: Albion, Tristane, Germania, Gallia, and Ramalia. All of these countries are unable to fulfill Brimir's wish to conquer the sacred land. Such is the tragic story of Brimir's. Naruto closed the book and sighed. After he translates all the contents of the book, Naruto now knows where the attitudes of noble come from. To translate the book into his language, he must use the power of Rinnegan. He is actually surprised at the book's contents. After the story at the first part of the book, the next part of the book contains much unknown magic towards all mages in this era. Naruto now knew why elves and humans hated each other for a long time. Naruto also heard what elves' magic is like. It is almost the same as Senjutsu, however with the help of spirit, or something similar. They also use wandless magic or firstborn magic, which unlike humans they don't need a focus or catalyst to use their magic. Elves could use 4 elements of magic, however with some of them named it differently, such as pyromancy for fire magic. Elves also granted an ability to wield other elements such as lightning, and woods if given enough training. Void magic, however, is similar to elves' magic, however at the same time it's different. Void magic is like controlling the arts of physical prowess and magic prowess. Physical power comes from the body itself. Once your body is stronger the spells. Magic power comes from one person itself, or spiritual power. If the void mages comes with strong willpower, controlling the magic itself will prove easily. Void magic reminded him of chakra, where it is divided into yin and yang, or physical and spiritual. People who train hard their chakra and chakra reserves within them will become controllable, stronger, dense, and increased. Void magic seemed the same. It is the power to control. Void mage such as Louise might be unable to use the other 4 elements fluently. However, if Louise could find her true power within the void and control it, she will be able to control the other elements easily. Then she would become the first pentagram mage to ever exist. His muse cut short after the light from the windows blinded him for a while. Seems he read the book a little too long than he expected, and today will become a long day. Even so, he is really going to a very interesting world, a little bit stupid, and a screwed up world, but it appears this world has its own perks. Maybe protecting her in the first place gives him a hint that something big is happening in this world. Only time will tell. Alvis Hall. After waking Louise up, as usual, and with her cute awakening gestures they headed towards Alvis Hall. Both of them are still getting the looks from yesterday, and, as usual, no one really bothers with it except the fluttering fangirls waiting to chase Naruto. Louise and Naruto sat side by side, and Naruto still wearing his fancy haori, and Jounin vest eating elegantly, while some noble from higher-ups might be offended by the thoughts of an elf sitting the same as nobles. Here noble students from almost all classes have heart fluttering at their eyes while the others have blush on their face or glaring at Louise for being able to summon such hot Adonis. The male students are glaring at Naruto, and, as to why Zero managed to summon a handsome elf. Darling! Kirchi, being energetic, as usual, hugs Naruto from behind while rubbing her enormous mounds at Naruto's back. Naruto's cheeks turn into a small hue of pink at the sensation behind his back. If he didn't travel with Jiraiya for 3 years he would likely stutter and nosebleed. Hi Kirchi. It's fancy meeting you here, Naruto calmly replied. Kirchi hugged him tighter after he greets her while her cheeks become a small hue of pink. Of course darling, I would do anything if it was for you. She circles her fingers at his lean and muscled chest. Louise's eyes twitched at the interaction. She resists to shout at the Germanian, and being a Zero. What are you doing with my familiar? Louise, my little Louise, how are you today? It's been shocking after what you did at the class the other day. Tell me, is it really your power or just a trick because some students are saying you are a square mage behind an untalented act? She nuzzles her cheek at Louise's cheek while Louise blushes at what her rival just said, and what she just did. She nuzzled her cheek in front of many people including Naruto. It is true however when Louise manages to transmute pebbles into gold. Some teachers and students start talking about where Louise is Zero or is she a square mage or is she just playing tricks. Rumors have flown throughout the academy while Louise herself did not even know. Got off me this instant. Some of the boys passed out via nosebleed at the scene in front of them. While Tabitha just doesn't care. Naruto just sweat drops. Moments later Alvis Hall became quiet, as only the sounds of the second class were heard. The third and the first grade went towards each class respectively. Naruto is confused and decides to ask, Louise, why are you not going inside the class? Oh, today is actually a day off for the second class to get closer to their familiars, Louise answered. I see. Naruto nodded. Well, if that is the case let's go outside and have a chat. We haven't really gotten to know each other much. Louise quickly grabs Naruto's hand and dragged him outside. Library. Professor Colbert, teacher who taught the students fire mage, an exhilarating power of technology. He believed that magic is not everything because one day technology will overcome any mages in the world. Right now, the professor whose name Jean Colbert is researching the runes of the legendary familiar of Bremere. He's surprised by his students, or more specifically Louise Valier, the third daughter of Karen the Heavy Wind. She managed not only to summon elf, but in fact the elf himself might be one of the legendary familiars or Gandalf. He is currently researching and opening the books of the ancient void, and it surprises him even more when the runes of Louise elf familiar bear the same runes. I really need to tell the headmaster. He took the book and walked to the headmaster office. Outside Alvis Hall, after being dragged Naruto and Louise sat each other at the round table just for two of them, while the other students are either chatting to each other or playing with their familiar. Naruto learned that Louise comes from the Valier family. She is the third daughter of Duke Valier and Karen the Heavy Wind. He knew Karen is the famous wind mage across Hokugenia. Naruto told his story of where he is just an orphan and fights to survive on the roads. Louise hung her head and said sorry, however Naruto just shrugged it off and said it was fine. Then he became mercenary to fulfill his life. That one got a gasp from Louise, as she never expected her familiar is a mercenary. However, that is not my real story, Louise. I will tell you after we have time alone, then I will tell you. For now this story is sufficient. It wasn't that he didn't trust Louise or anything. It's just that his habit was to keep secrets a secret until that person is truly worthy of the information. Naruto asks her if she is okay to summon him here, and Louise just nodded. She might not be happy at the mercenary idea, however she could see he is a good person besides being an elf, and a former mercenary. She was actually happy to summon someone who would consider her as a true friend rather than just see her as a Zero and a plaything. Suddenly their chat is interrupted by the first grade noble from the looks of her cape, and she is looking for someone. Naruto recognized her, as the girl with her blonde womanizer. Hold on moment Louise. Naruto stood up, and walked towards the brown-haired girl while Louise gritted her teeth, as Naruto talked with another woman. It just feels bad. Excuse me young lady. Naruto greeted the brown-haired first grader. The first grade gradually blushed while her mouth was gaping like a fish. She tried to say something until she felt he was familiar to her, and she remembered Adonis from 2 nights ago. She regained her composure even though she was still blushing. Yes? Are you looking for someone? Naruto asked while the brown-haired first grade nodded. Yes, I'm looking for Lord Goichi. Can you tell me where he is? He is over there. He pointed at Goichi who talked with the blonde girl, and seemed to enjoy himself. Oh, thank you Sir Naruto. She walks, as fast as he could to avoid looking at his face while looking down, as if the ground suddenly grows interesting to her. Louise walked at him with her red face. What are you doing? Are you trying to hit the first grade? Naruto shook his head. No, she is just asking for directions from Goichi. I think he is your friend right there. He pointed at Goichi arguing with 2 women who seemed to claim who is his girlfriend. In the end Guiche's face got slapped by the girls on each cheek. He cast a glance at Naruto with a hateful glare. Oh I see, well that stupid Goichi deserved that, he is a womanizer, and then she tried to have 2 girlfriends at once. He was supposed to be Montmorency's fiancé. Well serve him right. Louise just nonchalantly walked back to her seat. Naruto too shrugged it off and followed Louise back to his own seat. Goichi, having his reputation destroyed, tries to regain his senses, and walks right at Naruto. He knew Naruto is the one who told Katie about him talking with Montmorency. Elf or not he is going to make him pay. You! Have you no shame in breaking the hearts of 2 women? He accused him with his rose pointed at Naruto. Is it me or are you trying to save your face from getting humiliated? This got everyone who was near both of them laughing out loud while Goichi gritted his teeth in anger. You dare to raise your filthy elf attitude here at me noble if it is what you want then I am challenging you to a duel. Goichi shouted while everyone who heard this became dumbfounded. Did Goichi say he wanted to challenge an elf? Is he nuts or something? He getting slapped by those 2 might make him insane. Goichi you better back off you have no chance, muttered some of the students fueling Goichi's anger. Well, do you accept it or not? If yes then I will wait for you at vestry court. He left in a hurry, fuming. Naruto just blinked. Well that is escalating faster than I thought. Louise sighed. Goichi is stupid like that, never thinking or considering what he just said might cause him more trouble. So are you going to accept it or not? Of course I will. I need to teach him a lesson not to play with girls' feelings except if the girls agree with each other. Naruto stated sagely. Louise's eyes went wide. You mean? Louise sighed. You know what, never mind, just don't get overboard or it will be a mess. Then I will be the one to clean up the mess, and it will be getting too troublesome. Naruto's smile went wide, and bowed in butler gestures. Of course, milady. Louise blushed, and looked away. Baka, headmaster office. Once Colbert reaches the office he knocks the door. He got a reply from behind the door. Who is it? It's me, Jean Colbert. Jean please come in. The headmaster said from behind the doors. He opened the doors, and was greeted by the sight of the headmaster old Osmond. He is an old mage with a huge catalyst, and his familiar Matsagner white mouse sitting on old Osmond's shoulder. His face is mostly covered with long white goatee. Beside him is his secretary, a beautiful woman with dark green hair strapped in a ponytail. She has a generous amount of mounds with her clothes tightly covering it. She is Ms. Longueville. What is it that you need, Jean? Old Osmond asked. Colbert quickly went towards the old headmaster's side, and whispered in his ears. Osmond nodded. Miss Longueville, could you please leave us for a while? Longueville quickly went outside the room leaving Colbert, and Osmond alone. So what is it about the familiar of Brimir you talking about? Osmond asked. Colbert shows the book. The familiar which Miss Valier summoned has the same rune as the one within Gandalfr familiar of Brimir long ago. He opened the book, as he showed the rune of Gandalfr. I see, and what familiar are you talking about? Colbert cleared his throat. The problem is that Louise' familiar is the Gandalfr considering he is an elf also. Yes, Miss Valier's an elf. She is certainly unique if she is able to summon an elf, and Gandalfr at that. Osmond nodded sagely. Indeed she is, however what should we do about this information? Should we tell the royalty about this? Colbert asked. Osmond shook his head. No, we must not. If it is true that Miss Valier is indeed the Void Mages she will be targeted by many parties, and if her familiar failed to protect her then what should we tell Karen the Heavy Wind? Colbert nodded his head off, not really his favorite dealing with Karen the Heavy Wind. The door suddenly opened, as Miss Longueville came inside. Headmaster, there is a duel outside at vestry court. Both of them are left dumbfounded however Osmond's face becomes interesting. Oh, interesting, who will be at the duel? Longueville nodded. It is Greymont, fourth son Guiche de Greymont. Osmond sighed. That stubborn last child of Lord Greymont, so who is his opponent? It is Louise Valier, familiar. Colbert suddenly becomes nervous. I think we should stop the duel. It is not a good idea for Guiche to fight against an elf. Osmond suddenly smiled. Nonsense, this will be a perfect chance to observe, if he is true at what you just said. Colbert sighed. Very well. Longueville, left alone inside the room, felt a nostalgic feeling after staring at the blonde elf. He seems very familiar. Vestry Court. Crowds of students are gathering at Vestry Court waiting for the duel to begin. They heard Guiche de Greymont is fighting against the elf of Valier. Even though no one really cares, they secretly have wishes for their own. The girls are excitedly waiting for Naruto to win while the boys are waiting for Guiche to at least kick the elf's ass. All in all, everything is interesting. Guiche standing with his arms crossed at his chest proudly, as if to show he is better than the elf. Naruto meanwhile has a face of uninterested. He fights because his opponents are too proud to admit he is wrong. He pointed his wand at Naruto, and shouted, I commend you for not running away from me? Does your master approve of this already? If she doesn't, then you better ask for her permission, or she might ask me for forgiveness, he stated arrogantly. Louise steps forward. Don't worry about it, Guiche, I already accept it. Now if you please be quick, and start. Naruto smirked. You heard what she said, let's get started. He readies himself with his kata. Guiche scowl. So be it then, I Guiche de Greymont of Bronze shall fight you. He slashes his rose wand, as its petal dropped on the ground, as Golem came out of the ground. The golems itself are covered in armor, as it holds various weapons. Naruto surrounded by 4 golems, as Naruto still holds himself calmly. Too afraid to move, I see. Well, let me show you how my golems will defeat you. Valkyrie attack. All 4 golems move to attack him simultaneously. Naruto, however, already saw the movements of the golems, as he decides just to play with it. He replaces himself with the nearest log. All of the golems crash themselves, then without notice Naruto were behind the pile of golems. 8 trigrams. Air palm. He uses the of his late friend Niji, who died during the war, and he is just going to use it on a smaller scale than all of the golems, but all destroyed into rubble. Is that all you got? He smiled calmly. Guiche becomes afraid at this point, and frantically waving his wand erratically while the golems increased into 8. However, their armor and weapons are imperfect, making them vulnerable. After seeing the weak power of the Valkyries, he decides to destroy them by his own hands. He swiftly destroys the golem one by one with incredible speed for everyone to see, including the teacher who observes him from above. He destroys the last 2 golems simultaneously. He then takes one of his kunai out, and swiftly moves behind Guiche. And with his kunai at his neck, do you yield? I yield, he said, as Naruto released him. The crowds are cheering at the fight. Louise is happy that Naruto is alright. Kirchi is screaming about his darling making her hot, while Tabitha is actually watching the fight in full interest. Siesta meanwhile is glad he is alright. Naruto just scratches the back of his head. Today is a good day. Try staying Magic Academy. Duel have already been decided before the match began. Naruto wins the duel easily. The elf they thought could use firstborn magic only needs a fist just to destroy the golem imbued with magic. With only fist, they realize that the elf fist already imbued with strange magic they don't recognize. After the duel was over, Osmond and Colbert exchanged a look. Osmond, did you see those moves? Yes, I did. You saw those high-speed movement and power he uses against Guiche golems without magic. Nope, you are wrong, he uses magic. Didn't you notice his fist before he started to move at incredible speed? He smiled slyly. Colbert's eyes went wide. Don't tell me he. Osmond nodded. True, he uses magic to enhance his fists to destroy those golems. Yes, and it seems he is truly an elf, it seems. With his power he might be the strongest elf. Osmond nodded his head. Colbert grunted. We need to report this to the royal palace for instruction, he urged. There is no need for that, Colbert. What I saw from him is not the elves. As we read from the fairy tale, he is totally different. Confused by Osmond's statement, Colbert decides to ask, what do you mean by he is a totally different elf? Isn't he the same as the elves who reside within the sacred land? Osmond just waved it off, as he smiled. No way, if he is truly from there he probably already killed Louise in the summoning ritual, and everybody here or running away from her, or humans for that matter. Isn't that right? Colbert was a little bit doubtful, but nonetheless accepted it. That does make sense. Osmond stroked his white long beard. Even, as interesting as it is, it raises more questions. Colbert nodded. Agree. Tell me, Colbert, is Miss Valier a talented mage? I'm afraid not. Interesting. An untalented mage summoned a powerful elf from we don't know where. An interesting duo, don't you agree, Colbert? Yes, but still that doesn't explain as to why we shouldn't contact royalty for instructions. Gandalf has been reborn. Osmond takes a deep breath. Colbert, There is no need for us to tell the palace about this. Those fools there would no doubt use this as a chance to rise in power. I'm very sorry for not overlooking such important matters. I will take responsibility for what is happening right now. You will not speak of this to anyone else, Mr. Colbert. Yes, I understand. Louise' room night. Naruto was finally able to calm Louise down after the duel. After the duel he saw her relieved face, but soon it changed, as she was somehow surprised. Late reaction. After the duel Louise kept asking him questions about what spell he used. Is that an elf magic? Can you please tell me? That kind of question with her puppy eye technique. He almost broke it up after he saw her face, but decided to tell her to wait until night. Louise accepts it while smiling triumphantly while crossing her arms. Naruto never understands how Louise can be that cute. Now here he was sitting in Louise's bed while Louise sits in Naruto's lap. The difference in size made both of them look like father and daughter. Asking as to why she sat in his lap, Louise just answered, "This is just your punishment for making trouble." Naruto just playfully smiled at her. What? Isn't dueling actually forbidden? Naruto just smiled and answered, "I know you lie." Louise of course knows, and blushed. Alright. Let's get back to what we're supposed to talk about. Okay? Naruto just pet her head while Louise seems comforted by gesturing. You. So what is your question, Louise? Louise turned serious. Naruto, I know that elves are rarely neutral or like humans. You are an elf. Ever since I summoned you I was totally scared that you might kill me the first time I made you my familiar. But I didn't, right? Louise nodded. You also spoke gibberish the first time I saw you. However, when you tried to reach me, Mr. Colbert halted you, and instead of killing him I saw you holding his head with your hand. Next you could speak our language fluently. Naruto nodded. Then, what are your abilities? Is that nature magic? Can you use the other 4 magic elements? Whoa there, Louise, hold on, let me explain one by one. Louise puffed her cheeks. It's because you avoided answering my question when we first met. You just said that is your abilities, and that's it. Right, my first encounter with you. I have been using mind-reading techniques with your teacher, because of it now I could speak fluently. Next is my abilities regarding nature magic. It was not nature magic, rather my people named it. Louise opened her mouth to ask again, but Naruto stopped her. Before you ask what is, you are asking me if I could use all 4 elements. Yes, I can also wield another element called sub-elements. Wow, so I summoned a masterful elf, as my familiar. If you said you could do all elements, please teach me? Her eyes were sparkling with excitement. I'm afraid I can't, Louise. Louise's head hung down in disappointment. But I could help you master your magic power. Louise tilted her head confused. Really? How? I mean, I don't have any affinity to 4 elements. Naruto smirked. That is where you are wrong, Louise. You know there is one more element you forget. Louise looked straight at the smirking Naruto, as she reminds of what one other element. Louise gasped, and with wide eyes gaping like a fish. Naruto nodded. That's right, you have an affinity of void magic. Louise, you my master are the wielder of the lost magic elements, the void. What do you mean? Void magic has never been found over thousands of years, and you are saying I'm the wielder of the lost element? Louise, you can't do any kind of elements. Have you ever noticed your explosion, Louise? Your explosion could destroy the entire academy, however you never saw anyone injured, am I right? Louise dumbfounded nodded. It's because you have no intent to hurt anyone. In fact, if you trained to control your power you could someday use your power to the fullest. Louise's eyes turned determined to prove that she was not zero. Then you could teach me? Yes, void magic is almost the same as chakra, which is bestowed upon my people. However, if you were to train under me you will know it will not be that easy. Louise nodded. You keep mentioning that your abilities are bestowed upon your people. Does that mean you are another elf race? And what is chakra anyway? Naruto frowned at the question. He really didn't want to give Louise any information about his true whereabouts before he was summoned, and nobody would likely believe him anyway. Louise, the truth is I'm not from this world. Really? I don't know about it. I think it does make sense after you show me those kinds of abilities. It is true, actually, if you have no potential you would not be able to summon me. Then, will you tell me your true story from your world? She smiles with half-lidded eyes. Naruto tried to play it a little bit confused. What do you mean? Did I already tell you my story? Her smile fades. Don't lie to me, Naruto. You are my familiar, right? So, can you tell me what is on your mind? You have this sad and emotionless face when we first met, and then when you told me your story it's like you are trying to hide it from me. He smiled gently. You are really smart, aren't you, Louise? You could tell whether someone is lying or not, as I expected of Louise. He nuzzles her cheeks, making her blush. Anyway, please tell me your story before coming here. I already told you who I am, right? Now it's your turn. She looks at him with pleading eyes. Almost he can't resist. He sighed. Fine, I will tell you my story. Then he told her. He is truly an orphan with bad memories of childhood. He never gets a decent place to sleep, no edible food, but only ramen, which is his favorite. Then he finally gets nutritions from his village leader who gave him home and money. Louise was touched by his story, however it didn't stop there. Naruto's life turned into hell because he couldn't get enough nutritions, but then the only food he could have was from a ramen stand. From there he tries to become Hokage by giving him all he got, and training all day. It was rough, but it was worth it. After years shunned, he finally become a shinobi, and have many friends. Louise couldn't believe that he got all those hate, and still wanted to become a Hokage. However, Naruto explained that his village was his home, and his friends were there. Even though he says that, he has no idea why he still keeps struggling for that village. For fame? For affection? Getting attention from his surroundings? He has no idea. He then tells her, he is finally able to become Hokage, and strive for a better world than this Akatsuki, wanting his power to conquer the world. They would do anything to reach their goals. Seeing the threat, Naruto and the other village shinobi leaders unite to defeat Akatsuki. Louise was at loss of words at what her familiar just told her. His life is such a roller coaster. What is a roller coaster anyway? She smiled at his effort of becoming a Hokage. However, what concerned her was why did he have that sad expression whenever he tried to tell her his stories. Then comes the part where he lost his most precious person. She was his lover, you see. Louise knew that something bad happened to his lover, however he seems unable to continue that part. But skip to the next part where he was finally able to defeat this Akatsuki, and the man behind it. Naruto, you have one heck of a life, don't you? Louise with sleepy eyes asked. So it seems. He nodded. Yawn asterisk, I guess all of these conversations make me sleepy. We should continue tomorrow. Is that okay, Naruto? Of course, my little Louise. Naruto lays her down, and covers her with a blanket while he himself walks towards the window to look at the beautiful night. This world is pretty interesting, right, Shinju? Next day. The next day, as usual, Louise came to class without Naruto. She would never force Naruto in any way, and she knew he wouldn't do anything stupid, well, maybe little. After yesterday's duel, Goichi seemed quiet, and no more bickering about hurting women's feelings. He just seemed quiet. Well, yesterday ought to teach him a lesson. Meanwhile, with Naruto, he went to talk about what happened yesterday. The Tarb didn't seem to mind at all, and he knew she doesn't like violence. So after Siesta serves most of the order from the noble, she went to talk with Naruto, an enigma elf who somehow didn't hate humans. Siesta walks around the academy with Naruto beside her while stare mainly at the ground. So Mr. Naruto, I'm glad you are alright after yesterday. I know you are strong, and Lord Goichi is outmatched. That's why when you defeat Lord Goichi, I'm worried you will be dragged to the court somewhere in the capital. Naruto glanced at her. He never thought she would be that worried. Don't worry, Siesta. You don't need to worry, I'm not that easy to be taken out. Just give me a bright smile. He caressed her cheek while her face flushed of the warmness his hand radiated. Yes. Time skip. 1 week later. The next week Naruto was already popular among many. From noble side, headmaster, and Colbert are fascinated by him. Kirchi each time moved closer for Naruto. Tabitha is interested with the enigma blonde, and the whole female population would know elf named Naruto even though it was supposed to be secret outside of academy. From the commoner side, the whole commoner loves Naruto, as their hero, and for protecting Siesta. One night Naruto's tenant orders him to get inside the seal, and Naruto of course obeys her. Yes, Shinju is a she. She took the form of Kagaya, mother of all chakra. He defeats her barely. If Sasuke wasn't there to help him, he wouldn't know what would have happened to him. Inside Naruto's mindscape. Inside of Naruto's mind is a lively garden full of trees, and miles-long grass stretching. This is the new mindscape of Naruto after the war is over. He never understood how Shinju was able to change his mind so fast. While Naruto enjoys the scenery, hands covering his eyes while soft mounds pressing against his back. Guess who? Shinju-chan, I know it's you. Let's just get on with what is happening. Naruto-kun, don't be so mean, I want to enjoy our moment. If it was his younger self he would have nosebleed himself, and blushing crimson red, but after those 3 years trip with Jiraiya, he always respects the woman unlike his perverted godfather who always ogles women. Her face was the same as Kagaya except with her long elf-like ear while her white dress hugged her body perfectly. Shinju, I know you called me here not only for a loving session. Of course, Naruto-kun, I have noticed we are not the only one here, you noticed, right? Naruto nodded. I noticed my left hand felt burning like it wanted to take control of me. Naruto shows Gandalf a sign at Shinju. But I'm not someone who can be taken control like a doll, plus you are here. He kissed her forehead, and she giggled. Such a flatterer anyway, you won't believe who I am talking about. Maybe you already figured it out? Ah, she is here. A shadow figure appears in the trees, a figure of a woman with a pointy long ear. Her hair is long blonde hair while her light blue eyes are beautiful, like the sky. Her clothes contain short dresses. You, Headmaster office. At the headmaster's office, Miss Longueville the secretary was busily writing away at something. She stopped writing for a moment, and glanced over at the sequoia desk at which Sir Osmond was busy taking a nap. The corner of Miss Longueville's lips rose in a faint smirk, an expression she had never shown anyone before. She stood up from her desk. In a low voice, she murmured the incantation for a spell of tranquility. Dampening her footsteps so as not to wake Osmond, she crept out of the office. Her destination was the treasury, located on the floor directly below the headmaster's office. Stepping off the stairs, she confronted enormous iron doors. They were kept shut with a thick bolt mechanism, which in turn was secured with an equally large padlock. This place was where artifacts dating from even before the Academy's establishment were contained. After cautiously surveying her surroundings, Miss Longueville withdrew her wand from her pocket. It was about the length of a pencil, but with a flick of the wrist, it extended to the length of a conductor's baton, which she whirled expertly. Miss Longueville cast another spell. Once the invocation was complete, she pointed the baton at the padlock. However, nothing happened. Well, it's not like I really expected a spell of unbinding to work anyway. Smiling deviously, she began reciting the words to one of her specialty spells. It was a transmutation spell. Chanting loud and clear, she waved her baton at the heavy lock. The magic cascaded over it, but even after a considerable wait, there was no visible change. Looks like it's been magically reinforced by a square-class mage, she muttered. A spell of reinforcement was one that prevented the oxidation and decomposition of matter. Any substance that had this spell cast on it was protected from any chemical reactions, and allowed it to be preserved forever in that state. Even transmutation magic would have no effect against something protected like this. Only if one's magical skill surpassed that of the mage who cast the spell could it be overcome. As it was, the mage who had enchanted this door was apparently an extremely powerful mage, considering that not even Miss Longueville, an expert in earth magic, and transmutation in particular, was able to affect the door. Taking off her glasses, she stared at the door once more. At this point, she heard footsteps coming up the staircase. She shrunk down her baton, and slipped it back into her pocket. The person who appeared was Colbert. "Greetings, Miss Longueville. What are you doing here?" "Mr. Colbert, I was going to catalogue the contents of the treasury, but, oh, that's quite some work. It'd probably take you all day to go over each and every item. There's a lot of junk mixed together with them, and it's a rather cramped space they've been arranged into. Indeed. Why don't you just borrow the key from old Osmond?" The woman smiled. "Well, I didn't want to disturb his sleep. In any case, I'm in no immediate hurry to complete the catalogue." "I see. Sleep, you say? That old man, old Osmond, is quite a deep sleeper. It seems I shall have to visit him another time." Mr. Colbert began to walk off, but paused in his tracks, and turned around. Miss Longueville? Is something the matter?" Colbert looked slightly embarrassed, as he opened his mouth to speak. "If it would be all right, how would you like to, say, join me for lunch?" She took a moment to consider, then smiled brightly, as she accepted the offer. "Sure, it would be my pleasure." The two of them headed down the stairs. "Hey, Mr. Colbert." In slightly informal tones, Miss Longueville struck up conversation again. "Yes? What is it?" Emboldened by how easily his invitation had been taken up, Colbert responded quite eagerly to her. "Is anything important actually inside the treasury?" "There is." "Then, do you know of the Staff of Destruction?" "Ah, that is quite a curiously shaped item, indeed." Her eyes glinted. "What kind of shape?" "It's extremely difficult to describe, except as simply strange, yes. But never mind that. What would you like to eat?" "Today's menu is flounder baked in herbs, but I'm quite well acquainted with Marteau the head chef, and I can have him make any of the world's finest." Ahem. Miss Longueville interrupted Colbert's babbling. "Yes? I must say, the treasury is quite amazingly built. No matter what kind of magic is tried, it would be impossible to open, I assume?" "That's quite right. It's impossible for just any one mage. After all, it was devised by a group of square-class mages to resist all spells. I'm very impressed that you're so knowledgeable about this, Mr. Colbert." She regarded him with a comfortable expression. "Well, I just happened to come across a lot of documents pertaining to this floor. That's all. I like to consider it a part of my research. Thanks to that, I'm still single at this age, yes. I'm sure the woman that you find will be very happy to be with you. After all, you can teach her so much about things that nobody else knows." Miss Longueville fixed him with a fascinated look. "Oh no! Please don't tease me like that." Colbert flustered nervously, as he wiped sweat from his balding forehead. Then, regaining composure, he faced her seriously. "Miss Longueville, have you heard of the Ball of Frigg that is being held on the day of Yule?" "No, I haven't. I guess it's because you've only been in Tristane for 2 months. Well, it's nothing spectacular, just a party of sorts. However, It said that a couple who dances at this ball will be destined to be together or something like that. It's just a petty legend, of course. Yes. So? Smiling, she pressed him to continue. So if it would be alright, I was wondering if you would dance with me. Yes. I would love to. While ball parties are fabulous, I'd like to know more about the treasury right now. I'm quite fascinated by magical items, you see. Wanting to further impress Miss Longueville, Colbert racked his brains. Treasury, she says. Remembering something she might find interesting, he put on an important air, and started to talk. Ah yes, there's one thing I can tell you. Although it's not particularly important, by all means do tell. Certainly, the treasury is invincible against magical attacks, but I believe it has one fatal weakness. Oh, that's intriguing. That weakness is physical force. Physical force? Yes. For example, well, not that this is ever likely, but a giant golem could. A giant golem? Colbert stated his opinion quite proudly to Miss Longueville. And once he was done talking, she couldn't help but smile in satisfaction. That was most intriguing indeed, Mr. Colbert. Naruto in the moment was captivated by the beauty of the blonde elf girl that almost matched the beauty of her tenant the Shinju. He was almost blushed by her beauty if Shinju didn't seduce him every night. The question now was, how did she get here? Who is she? I mean, those huge mounds and nice curves really are a nice view to him. Wait. Bad Naruto. Hormones anyway. He decides that he might, as well, calm himself, and not give himself to his lust. The beautiful elf bowed. Nice to meet you, Naruto Uzumaki, savior of your world, and Nidame Rikudisanin. My name is Sasha. I think you already know me since you read the book written by myself. He gives her his foxy smile. Nice to meet you too, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. Sasha, left hand of the god, Gandalfer. What a surprise to see you here. If I may ask, how did you get here? And about your book, what is your purpose by carelessly let it stay in human hands? I will obey what you order at me, Naruto-sama. First, about how I am inside you. As you know, I have become one with you when you first tamed Shinju. I was sent by Kami-sama to guide you in this world, she explained with her soothing voice. Kami-sama? For what purpose? Why did she send her? Or more importantly, if I was correct, she was supposed to be dead a long time ago in this world. He thought to himself until he finally asked, how are you still alive? Or are you only a soul inside my body? And please drop the formalities. Naruto-sama, I am only a soul inside your body. My body has already been destroyed by time. If you would like that, then is Naruto-kun okay? She looked at him with kind, gentle eyes. Sure, Sasha-chan. And can you explain to me the power of that book, and what purpose? Also, why did you leave it at the human library? He asked in full curiosity. Naruto-kun, the power of that book is to guide the Void Familiars to know the history behind the Void Familiars, and what their role is. For why am I leaving it behind? It's because there is a potential that there will be a new Void Mages in humanity. Also, there are basic learning of Void Magic inside the book to guide the Void Magic to control his/her power, but not to the level of mastery. The book only available in a very secret places where secret files are collected, she explained. It is really nice to know, Sasha-chan. More importantly, are you okay with being inside me for a while with Shinju? He unknowingly asked Shinju to go right behind him. Of course, she smiled. Mao Naruto-kun, you are really enjoying yourself with the new girl. At least give me some satisfaction tonight. Shinju-chan, now is not the time. If I do go into beast mode, you know what will happen, right? He struggled at not to let himself taken away. But right now is really hard. Let that beast out, Naruto-kun. I will be forever yours. I want you to fill me up, and paint me white, Shinju with her half-lidded eyes said in a sultry voice. However, he managed to get out of his mindscape, leaving Shinju and Sasha alone. Naruto-kun, you mean it? Jubi pouted. She looks at Sasha, and has a mischievous grin on her face. Sasha-chan, when we meet Naruto-kun again, I want you to help me. Sasha tilted her head. Help you with what? Shinju gave her a gesture to come closer, and then she began whispering at Sasha. I want you to. After Shinju whispered at Sasha, Sasha became flustered, and her face turned red until it reached her ears, and then Shinju just grinned. Louise's room, midnight. He wakes up in Louise's room only to be hugged by sleeping Louise. He smiles at her sleeping figure. She is so cute. He really can't resist. Wait, what the hell? Did he just look at his crotch and find out that his manhood is awake? Must be Shinju-chan. He sighed. I need a cold shower. He got out of the bed while Louise whimpered at the loss of her warmth. Then Naruto put his pillow for her to hug at. She seemed satisfied at the moment, so he better hurry up, and then he went outside the room. Dorm hallways. He went through the hallway to get to the bathroom, the staff bathroom, because that is the only way for him to get soaked and relax, and he needed a hot bath. Unfortunately, there were none here. He continued walking until a familiar stayed in front of him, or blocked the way. It was familiar, the flamed salamander, and he never saw a salamander this big, let alone a flame one. The familiar seems to gesture to him to follow. He was curious as to why the salamander wanted to be followed. Must be, I wonder what Kerchi wants this time. She obviously wanted to get laid with you. The female voice giggles inside his head. Yeah, laughed it off. I won't do it anyway. He seems to said straight, however his inner self seems almost unable to hold it. Why? Oh, or is it because you wanted to do it with that little girl Naruto-kun? Oh, you Eki, Shinju with her fangirls mode screaming in delight. What? No way. I mean with Louise? I don't think he was speechless. He couldn't retort to any of Shinju's teasing. Kerchi's room. They reached Kerchi's front door room, and the door was opened. He went inside, and the door behind him closed. Welcome to my room. It's pretty dark here. He heard Kerchi snap her fingers. Starting from the one nearest him, lamps lit up one by one towards Kerchi like lights floating above a street. Doused in the mild glow, Kerchi sat on her bed, with a look of worry on her face. She was wearing attractive underwear, or rather, just plain underwear. One thing was for sure, supported only by her sexy bra. Don't just stand there. Come to me. Kerchi cooed with her most captivating voice. Naruto walked slowly to a smiling Kerchi. Sit down. Naruto sat by her side, as he was told. His mind was filled with questions. Why did she call him here? He knew that she was not this seductive by nature, and Kerchi's nearly nude body. Bad Naruto. What is it? Naruto asked with a smile. Kerchi was captivated by him. She tried to regain her composure while slowly waving her fiery red hair. Under the faint lamplight, Kerchi's brown skin looked wildly erotic, as if trying to capture Naruto to do her bidding. Kerchi made a long sigh, and worriedly shook her head. You must think me a lowly, despicable woman, Kerchi? To be thought so is inevitable. Do you understand? My runic name is Ardent. I know that. That cleavage in her bra's gaps is so sexy. He mentally slapped himself. My lust is as flammable as hey, that's why I suddenly called you here. Don't you get it? Isn't this really bad of me? That is indeed very bad. Naruto seemed unsure, and just played along. He never had a girl speak her heart out to him like this, except for Hinata and Shinju. But I'm sure you'll forgive me. Kerchi looked at Naruto with moist, watery eyes. Any man would show his most primitive instincts after looking at these eyes. Forgive what? Kerchi suddenly clasped Naruto's hand, enveloping them with her warm palms before slowly caressing through every finger, sending sparks through his spine. Loving you, my dear? To you, my love, is that sudden? Yeah, that's sudden, all right. Naruto's mind was completely confused. She must be joking. However, she seems desperate despite that thought. Kerchi's face looked serious. Your grandeur in defeating Geiche is just so cool, like a hero of the legends. Me, when I saw you right that moment, I was in love. Can you believe it? I was attracted to you just like that. Passion. Oh, this is a passionate love. Passion, huh? My runic name, Ardent, is quite passionate too. I've been writing love songs since that day. Love songs? Just for you, Naruto. You appear in my dreams every night, so I told Flame to see how you're doing. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. You must think that too, am I right? But it's all because of you. Naruto just sat there, at a complete loss of words. Kerchi took his silence as acceptance, and slowly, with closed eyes, approached Naruto with her lips. Yes, finally. I can feel the pleasure. The voice in his mind was excited to wait for this to happen. Her breath is getting heavier, and Naruto could picture it that Shinju is looking at the scene with eyes full of lust. However, Naruto pushed Kerchi's shoulders away. He felt like she was pushing herself too hard. No! The voice screams inside his head in disappointment. Kerchi looked at Naruto with surprise, as if asking why. Naruto looked at her eyes. Well, from what you said, you fall in love too easily, Naruto stated, hitting Kerchi's weak point. Her face turned red in an instant. Yeah, I guess I have more passion than others. That can't be helped. Love is sudden, and it burns my body so quickly. No, you are wrong. Stared at him deeply into his blue eyes as if she was being stripped off, but also she saw pity in his eyes. The way you act all this time, not based on what your name is, Kerchi. Huh? You only wanted yourself to be recognized among your friends, right? You wanted to be recognized not just as Germanian or some whore, but you wanted to be recognized as yourself, as Kerchi. He was hugged suddenly by Kerchi with tears on her eyes. She was crying her heart out to him. She knew that he was the same as her, and he understood the feelings she had all those years. It's okay, Kerchi, let it all out, I'm here. Naruto let her cry in his shirt for a good 5 minutes until she was tired, and then let her sleep in her soft, comfy bed. While Naruto leaves the room quietly. Outside the room, someone he at least expected was waiting. Louise, before he could explain, Louise cut his words. Don't worry, I trusted you. After all, I am your master. I do almost go inside, but after I heard Kerchi cries, I backed off even though I do know. Kerchi crying while inviting a man into her room is highly unlikely, she explained with a soft face. He smiled. You seem to really know her, as I thought both of you are good friends. No, harlot will never be my friend. Then after she tries to seduce you, I will never be her friend. She stuttered, then crossed her arms at her chest while flustered. But she is just like me, that's all, she said with softer expressions. He pats her head softly. You are really cute, Louise, so tell me how you knew I was here. As I thought, you like that lowly girl more than I expected. Shut up, trying to cover his pink tint on her cheeks with his smile. And it seems Louise didn't notice. I knew you here when I noticed you were gone when I tried to find you. Kerchi familiar seems guarding her front door since familiars are forbidden to get inside the dorm at this time. I thought you might be with her. She blushed at his pat, she doesn't know why, but his pat is so nice and good. I see, so let's go back to sleep, okay? But before that, tomorrow is the days of the void, so there will be no class. So tomorrow we are going to the city, she explained. And we are going to the city for? I'm going to show you the town, and help you find a weapon or something. I know a good place to find or make the weapons. She proudly pushed her chest. Naruto just sweat dropped. I doubt I need any weapons since my Kage Bunshin already makes some for urgent matters, but I also wanted to try to go to the city for a while, so why not? Alright, then let's go back to sleep if you don't want to oversleep. She nodded excitedly, and walked back to her room while Naruto followed her from behind. Kerchi's room, morning. Kerchi woke up before noon. Today is the day of the void. She walks to the windows, and opens the curtain. She groggily stared outside, remembering what happened last night. Right, I was crying at him the entire night. She couldn't believe herself. He knew her, her mask, her feelings. He was such a gentleman, and she will never let Naruto leave from her life. She began putting on makeup excitedly about how she should approach Naruto, and took him from Louise's hand. Naruto is mine. Louise's front door room. When she was done, she left the room, and knocked on Louise's door. She rested her chin on one hand, hiding her smile. Naruto will open the door, then I will greet her with my seductive smile. Thought. And then, right, I can try to eye him outside the room, and maybe he'll approach me himself. The thought of rejection never entered her mind. However, there was no answer after she had knocked. She tried to open the door, but it was locked. Without a second thought, she used an unlocking spell on Louise's door, and was rewarded with a click. In reality, unlocking spells were forbidden on campus, but Kerchi didn't care. Her undying love for Naruto was her rule, and will forever be. But the room was empty. The two weren't there. Kerchi looked around the room. Still the same tasteless room. Louise's backpack wasn't there. Adding that fact with the holiday meant they had gone out somewhere. Kerchi looked out the window, and saw two people on horseback, with Naruto holding the rope, and Louise was hugging him from behind, ready to depart. What? Going out, huh? Kerchi mumbled in annoyance. After thinking for a while, she quickly left Louise's room. Tabitha was in her room, deep in her sea of books. Under her light blue hair and glasses were bright blue eyes that sparkled like the ocean. Tabitha looked 4 or 5 years younger than she actually was. She was even a bit shorter than the already short Louise, and her body was quite slim. However, she didn't care about these things. She was a girl that would rather not care about what people thought of her. Tabitha loved days of void. There when she could sink into her favorite worlds. In her eyes, everyone else was an intruder in her own little world, giving a melancholic feel to her. Before long, strong knocks rocked her door. Without standing up, Tabitha simply picked up and waved to her staff, which seemed to exceed her height. She cast Spell of Tranquility, a wind-type spell. Tabitha was a mage of the wind affinity. Spell of Tranquility effectively blocked out those distracting door knocks. Satisfied, she returned to her reading, her expression remaining unchanged throughout the encounter. Then somebody forcefully broke the door open. Noticing the intruder, Tabitha moved her eyes from her book. It was Kerchi. She began babbling about something, but with the silencing magic, none of her words reached Tabitha. Kerchi took away Tabitha's book, and then grabbed the little reader's shoulders to make her look at her. Tabitha blankly looked at Kerchi, her face unreadable. However, one could see that she had an unwelcoming gaze. But Kerchi was Tabitha's friend. She would have blown anyone else away with a cyclone. Seeing no other way, Tabitha cancelled her magic. As if a lock was opened, Kerchi's voice instantly emerged. Tabitha! Get ready, we're going out. Tabitha only softly explained to her friend, Day of Void. That explanation was enough for Tabitha, who attempted to take her book back from Kerchi's grasp. Kerchi stood up, and raised the book high in the air, their height difference barring Tabitha from the book. Yes, I know how Days of Void are important to you, I really do. But now's not the time for this talk. I'm in love. It's love. Do you get it now? She didn't, and shook her head. Kerchi was propelled by her emotions, but Tabitha was a calm and collected thinker. One can only wonder how such polarized people could be such good friends. Right, you won't move until I explain. Geez, I am in love, but that stud is going out with that damn annoying Louise today. I want to go after them and find out where they're going. Do you get it now? Tabitha still didn't, because she still didn't know why that mattered to her. They just left, on horseback. I can't catch up without your familiarity, you know? Please help me at least with that. Kerchie started crying. Tabitha finally nodded. So that's why you need my familiarity to catch up. Oh, thank you so much, so let's hurry up. Tabitha nodded again. Kerchie was her friend, and she couldn't help it if her friends had problems that they couldn't take care of themselves. It was a bit annoying, but she didn't have a choice. She opened her window and whistled. The sound of the whistle rang in the azure sky for a moment. She then jumped out of the window. Those who did not know her would have found it weird, if not alarming. Kerchie, however, followed close after Tabitha, and jumped out the window without a thought. Just a note. Tabitha's room was on the 5th floor. She tended to forego the door altogether when she had to go outside, since jumping out the window was far quicker for her. Strong and tough wings spread out to the wind. Then, a wind dragon flew into the air, and received its 2 passengers. Your Sylphid is still so awesome no matter how many times I see it. Kerchie grabbed a protruding spine, and sighed in admiration. That's right, Tabitha's familiar is an infant wind dragon. The dragon, which got the name of the fairies of the air from Tabitha, swiftly and perfectly caught the upward draft around the tower, and reached 200 miles in the air in the blink of an eye. Where? Tabitha succinctly asked Kerchie. Kerchie immediately cried, I didn't know, I was panicking. Tabitha didn't mind, and commanded her wind dragon, 2 people on horseback, don't eat them. Her dragon made a short grunt, showing understanding. Its blue scales glittered, and its wings flapped strongly to the wind. It flew high in the air, scouring the ground for a horse, a simple task for a wind dragon. Satisfied that her familiar was doing its job, Tabitha snatched her book back from Kerchie's hands, leaned back against the dragon, and started reading again. If Kerchie were to look at Tabitha, she would have seen a faint smile on her face. She, after all, is interested in the summoned elf. Tri-Stain City, noon. Meanwhile, Naruto and Louise arrived at the city, and began to having fun. Well, in Louise's case, after putting their horse in the local stable, she and Naruto went to the nearby cake stand. Even if today's purpose was to get his weapons, Naruto said, you could enjoy yourself, Louise. That encourages her to have fun. In the city he uses henge to cover himself from getting known by the people there. If they know that he is an elf, then the trip here would be all for naught. He and Louise would get arrested. He didn't really need the weapon, but who knows, he might find something that intrigued him. He notices, and feel 2 people following them, then he realizes they are being tailed by Kerchie and Tabitha. He didn't know why Tabitha is coming along, since she loves her book very much. After a while, Louise held Naruto's hand, and dragged him to one of the stores which sells weapons. A sword-shaped sign dangled under it. It looked like this was the arms dealer's shop. Louise and Naruto walked up the stone steps, opened the door, and entered the shop. Despite the bright daylight outside, the shop was a bit dark inside. A gas lamp flickered. The walls and shelves were filled with unorganized weapons. A detailed suit of armor decorated the room. A man in his 50s smoking a pipe eyed Louise suspiciously. That is, until he saw the pentagram on her golden button. He removed his pipe, and said, My lady, my noble lady, all of my wares here are real, and reasonably priced. There's nothing criminal here. I'll be your customer. Oh, that's rather weird. A noble buying a sword. Quite strange. Why is that? Well, priests wave sacred staffs, soldiers wave swords, and nobles wave wands. Isn't that the rule? Oh, I'm not the one using it. My familiarity is. A familiar that can use a sword, huh? The shopkeeper spoke in a lively voice, and looked at Naruto. I believe that would be this gentleman over there? Louise nodded. He will be choosing on his own. I'll pay the price. Naruto then started to sort out the swords, and something much more like a knife, but hold strong, he would never find it here anyway. The shopkeeper jubilantly walked into his warehouse, silently rambling. Oh, this is too great. I can raise the prices so high with this. Shortly afterwards, he returned with a long sword of about a letter in length. It was a very exquisitely decorated sword. It looked like one could swing it with just one hand. There was even a hand guard on the short handle, the shopkeeper said, as though he just thought of something. Speaking of which, it seems that nobles like to let their servants bear swords lately. The last time any of them came to pick one from me, they picked this type. I see a shiny, glittering sword. Very well suited for a noble, thought Louise. Is that the trend? Louise asked. The shopkeeper naturally nodded. That's right. It seems that there's an increase of thievery on Tri-Stain's city streets lately. Thievery? Yes. Some mage thief that calls himself something like Fuke the Crumbling Dirt, and I heard he stole a lot of treasures from the nobles. Those nobles are getting really rattled, so they're arming their servants with swords. Naruto, who heard it, became interested with this Fuke the Crumbling Dirt, but he found this information on his own. Hey old man, do you have any special type of swords or something? I do, please wait a moment. A few seconds later he comes back with a golden, shiny sword. What about this one? It was a splendid broadsword of around a mail and a half in length. The handle was made for two-handed wielding, and was lavishly decorated with jewels. A mirror-like blade reflected light with an irresistible glow. Anyone could look at it, and say it was a very sharp and broad blade. This is the best thing I have. Rather than say it's for nobles, it's more like something nobles wish they can wear on their waists. But that's something reserved for very strong men. If not, wearing it on the back isn't half bad. It was a magnificent sword no matter how she looked at it. However, how much? She asked. Well, it's made by the famous Germanian alchemist Lord Shupai. It can cut through metal like butter because of the magic infused in it. See this inscription here? The shopkeeper proudly pointed at the words on the handle. You can't get this cheaper anywhere else. Well, I'm a noble. Louise held her head up high. At that, the shopkeeper bluntly gave the price. This will go for just 3,000 new gold coins. What? You can buy a holiday home with a garden with that, Louise said, shocked. Naruto put his hand on her shoulder. Then she looked at him while he gave her a smile. It's fine, old man. I can't seem to see anything that interests me. What? But, the shopkeeper tries to reason. At that moment, a deep, male voice came from a messy pile of swords. You really know what a sword is, huh? Louise and Naruto looked towards the sound. The shopkeeper held his hands to his head. That piece of shining metal ain't going to save you. It's just for a decoration. Durf. Stop saying bad things about my weapons, you'll ruin my business. Durf? Sword with a name, and could talk by itself? Sentient sword, interesting, thought Naruto. Could it be that this is a sentient sword? Asked Louise. That's right, lady. It's a sentient, magical, intelligent sword. I wonder what kind of mage could make a sword speak, but it's got a rotten tongue, always arguing with my customers. Hey Durf, keep up the insolence, and I'll ask this noble here to melt you. Sounds good to me. I'd like to see you try it. I'm kinda tired of this world. I'd love to be melted down. Fine. Then I'll melt you down. The shopkeeper approached. But Naruto stopped him. That's just so wasteful. Isn't a speaking sword rather important? Naruto stared at it. You're called Durf, right? Wrong. It's Durflinger-sama. Remember that. This man is really strong, I can feel it, and this man might be my new master. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Nice to meet you. He smiled at the sword. You really are one heck of a user. Fine. Buy me then. Naruto looked at Louise and nodded. How much? I'll give it to you for 100. That's rather cheap. If getting that thing out of my shop then yeah. She took out her wallet and poured its contents onto the counter. One by one, gold coins dropped onto the wooden surface. After careful counting, the shopkeeper finally nodded. Thank you for your business, the shopkeeper said, as he sheathed the sword and gave it to Naruto. If it gets noisy, just shove it back in the scabbard, and it'll shut up. Thanks. Two figures watched Louise and Naruto leave the weapons shop, Kirchi and Tabitha. Kirchi watched the two from the shadows of the streets, fiercely biting her lip. Louise the Zero trying to warm your feelings with Naruto with a sword, huh? Striking out with gifts so quickly after finding out he's my prey? What the heck? Kirchi stamped the ground in anger. Tabitha, her job done, was reading as usual. Sylphid circled around the skies above them. They had followed the two here soon after they'd spotted them. Kirchi waited for them to walk far away, and immediately ran into the weapons shop. The shopkeeper stared at Kirchi, as if he couldn't believe it. Whoa, another noble? What the hell is going on today? Hey there, boss. Kirchi played with her hair, a charming smile on her lips. The shopkeeper's face turned deep red under the sudden seduction. Do you happen to know what that noble bought not long ago? A.S. sword. She bought a sword. I see she did get him a sword. What kind of sword? A dirty and rusty one. Rusty? Why? Because she didn't bring enough money. Kirchi laughed, her hand to her chin. She went broke. Valier! Your duke's house will cry for this. Is my lady here to buy a sword too? The shopkeeper perked up, not willing to let go of the chance. This noble looks racked, and rich compared to that tiny one. He thought, show me your best. The man walked inside, brushing his hands in excitement. He returned, of course, with the broadsword he just showed to Naruto. A very well-made sword. You have a good eye, my lady. That noble not so long ago had a servant that really wanted this one, but it's too much for them. Of course he lied. He just wanted to get the money. Is that so? The noble servant? So Naruto wants this. Of course, this sword is made by the famous Germanian alchemist Lord Shupe after all. It can cut through metal like butter because of the magic infused in it. See this inscription here? The shopkeeper repeated what he had said before. Kerchi nodded. How much? The shopkeeper asked for more, seeing how Kerchi looked a lot richer. For new gold coins, 4,500. That's a bit pricey. Kerchi frowned. Well, great swords need to be paid for their worth, you know. Thought for a while, slowly moving her body towards the shopkeeper. Boss, isn't this just a bit expensive? Upon being caressed at the throat, the salesman suddenly lost his breath. Temptations hit his mind. But great swords are. Kerchi sat on the counter, raising her left thigh. Isn't the price a bit too high? She slowly raised her left foot onto the counter. The salesman's eyes irresistibly stared at her thighs. That's right then, 4,000 new gold. Kerchi raised her thigh further so that he could almost see in between them. No, 3,000 would do. It's getting hot in here. Kerchi ignored him, only opening her shirt's buttons. I feel really hot here. Help me take off my shirt, please. She threw her most attractive expression at him. I got it wrong, it's 2,500. Kerchi took off one button, and looked up at the shopkeeper. 1,800. 1,800's fine. Another button, exposing her cleavage. She looked at him again. Hey, 1,600 will do. Kerchi stopped with her buttons, and turned her attention to her skirt instead, raising it just so little. The man looked like he could not take any more. How does 1,000 sound? She suggested, slowly lifting her skirt more. He looked like he was about to hyperventilate, and then she stopped. His rapid breathing turned to a sorrowful moan. Oh. Kerchi straightened herself out, and asked again, 1,000. Oh, 1,000 will be fine. Kerchi stepped down from the counter, quickly wrote a check, and slapped it on the counter. Bought. She then picked up the sword, and left the shop, leaving the salesman to stare at her check. After a moment, he suddenly regained consciousness, holding his head. Damn it! I sold that baby for just 1,000? He took a bottle of liquor from his cabinet. Oh, I'm done for today. The end. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.